All right, Mr. Howse, let's say the Salesian trial had gone to the jury and you had been called to testify. What were you going to say in your testimony?
Well, that's a tough question, pretty loaded, because the courts are pretty restrictive in what can be presented. I would like to tell a story as best I remember after 50 years from A to Z, but of course courts do not allow that. Sometimes you have to answer yes or no, which I of course object to, because after 50 years it's touch and go in relation to remembering everything around the incident that happened.
What was the incident that happened?
In this matter down here, why they asked me to come here was to bear witness to the sexual assault on a part of Father Titian Miani, who was at the institute I was in Edmonton, Alberta, in Canada. And I did witness that he sexually assaulted the young boys.
How many young boys?
To my knowledge, there was one, but I know there was others, but I was not a witness to any of that. So for me to say anything about that, it would only be hearsay, as the court would consider.
And where did that take place?
Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, St. Mary's Boys' Home.
Boys' Home?
Boys' Home.
What was the environment there like? What kind of a home was it?
What, in relation to structure or
overall
who
were the boys? Who were the boys that were there?
It was quite a cross-section of population, primarily poor Indian, and there were also white, non-Indian, white boys from poor families, and that was about it. It was primarily Indian and white.
And what was the incident that you observed?
Father Miani.
Yeah.
It was, I believe, it was 1957. And we were in an area where you were only allowed about 10 minutes after coming into the institute from recreation. You had about 10 minutes before what they call a lineup. You have to line up when the bell goes.
Yeah.
And within that 10 minutes, I was in an area near the what they call the infirmary, or sick bay, some would call it. And the priests were right next where they were housed, or where their rooms were. So I came out of the dormitory, which is next to the infirmary. The infirmary is between the priest's quarters and the boys' dormitory.
Okay.
And I heard that noise in there, and there was a couple boys, 3 boys, standing by the door of the infirmary.
Yeah.
And I heard them talking, and there was something going on. There was a half whisper, so I went down to see what was going on. I thought there was a fight, perhaps. But one of the boys backed up and he said that Father Jim was hurting him from behind. And when Father Jim came out, first of all, the young boy came out because the bell had rung. So we had to be in assembly or lineup. So when I looked, I started to move away. It was Father Jim who came out with tried to cover his face, and he immediately went into the priest's area of the quarters. The young boy was not, he was still pulling up his pants.
Still pulling up his pants.
So we know it was Father Jim. See, this is the one that I know I witnessed. I know it was Father Jim.
And
there were other incidents that Father Jim's name came up, but I could not verify that one way or the other. I do believe those boys who had experienced sexual abuse on the part of Father Jim Miani.
You know of how many others that you think of, that you think you know of?
Well, to my knowledge?
Yeah.
Well, there are others. I'm a victim of late Father John Telek.
Telek.
He was...
At the same school?
Same school. And, he was appointed as Father Confessor. We were forced to go to confession once a week to this man who attacked me sexually. But I fought him. I fought that. He had me down. And he had his hand on my crotch, and he was squeezing hard.
Where was that?
This was right in the, what they call the sanctuary. I just finished serving his Mass.
As an altar boy?
As an altar boy. I still had the cassock on, and he still had the cassock on. And he attacked me. I kicked him. I fought. I just kept kicking. And I know he was bleeding, and I got away.
Good for you.
He never bothered me again, but he did disturb others.
But you know, was it kind of, did the boys at the school just talk about it and say, oh, here comes Father Jim, we're going to get attacked again? I mean, did the kids talk about it?
We did pass the word, because at that time I was classified as a medium boy. See, there was big boys, medium boys, and little boys or small boys.
Uh-huh.
So us medium boys had a ward. We had to take care of the little ones. So we would pass the word among us to watch out for Father Jim, watch out for Father John Telek, watch out for Father Ralph Simeone.
There was three at that school that you knew of?
Well, Father Ralph, I don't know about his sexual activities, but he was very mean, and he used to beat on people. He would pull you out of the line and start beating on you. He never did me. He slapped me around a couple times. But he used to use his fist on those we were supposed to call piss hounds. We were supposed to belittle them because they went to bed.
I only have a couple more minutes, and I wanted to ask you, Cheryl Buchanan mentioned that you do some activist work up in Canada around this issue. Is that correct?
Yes, I did an interview similar to this in the 1970s, also in 92, and that's how Cheryl became aware of me.
Who were you being interviewed by in 1972 about this?
A journalist from Edmonton, from the Edmonton Journal.
Really? Doing a story about the school?
Yes. And it was a very good presentation, and apparently it had an effect on a lot of people. There was quite a reaction after, people writing in, in favor of and against what I had to say.
Uh-huh.
But for me, it was very disturbing in a good way for some of the boys who had been in there, because they began to write into the journal in response. I was so glad to hear from them and read and know that they're still alive.
So there are, in the Edmonton Journal, in the archives, is the story with the letters to the editor that came in as well.
Yes, yes.
Can you tell me, what did you have to go through to come to court today for the trial?
What did I have to go through?
You came a long distance, right?
Yeah. When a date was set, I accepted, and I started with a friend to come down. His car messed up.
Oh.
Got another friend, crossed the border, no problem. It was great. I met my granddaughter in North Dakota on the way. My daughter was there, and I'd never held my granddaughter, so it was wonderful. It was a good journey.
Then how'd you get from North Dakota to Los Angeles?
I got to a friend drove me to Denver, and then Grand Junction, I believe it's called.
Uh-huh.
And from there, I took a Greyhound bus.
Thank you for coming.